dashing man from Wales. His name is Richard Smith. He's known as the Keto Pro, and he should just be popping up. There we are.
All lies. Young, good-looking, dashing. Lies, I tell you.
Look at the moody lighting you've got there, mate.
Yes, I've got no lighting on behind me. It's all from the screen. But,
that's all right.
Yeah.
No
Hides
problem.
my wrinkles.
Well, I am 59, and I actually, that's a really nice segue. We've not talked before we come on, by the way. I'm trying out high definition on the camera today. So if my wrinkles show, there you go. At 59, I'm not too upset about that. Let's have a look. We've got Copper's Carnivore Kitchen. Greetings from Alaska. Looking forward to it. You know, if you're in Alaska, I can't really moan about the cold, can I? I made baked Alaska once when I was, in my high carb phase. Droney is sad today after reading this, and this is what he's written: that tomorrow the government in Denmark will present their climate reduction plan, and this study is all over online news sites in Denmark. Yes. Well, we won't get into climate change because we're talking about meat, keto, low carb, those sort of things. And yes, good evening. We've got Matthew here, and he's saying hi to both of us, which is nice. And it is a bit chilly in Alaska. There you go. Look at that. 19 degrees Fahrenheit, but sunny. And it has been sunny today. Incidentally, I went up to a place called Knutsford and had a wonderful English breakfast there, which was really good. But we thought it was going to be drab and horrible, but it's actually really, really sunny. Herbert there saying hi, champs.
Hey there, Herbert.
You know Herbert?
Yeah, well, so far I think the regulars are all there. There's the avid supporters. So great to see you all. Thanks for coming on again.
And Jonathan there, Carnivore Muscle, excellent, good. I'm glad he's feeling excellent. And I want to thank you, Jonathan, for the nice comments on some of my YouTube videos. So it means a lot for both of us, actually, to comment, to like, to share and subscribe. And actually, one of the things I was going to tell you about the meal in Knutsford was I'm not going to say this in a derogatory way. When I say ordinary people, I mean people that are not in this space or not on YouTube very much. But the people we were out having the English breakfast with said, are you worried, to me, knowing what I do, are you worried about this thing on YouTube where if you don't follow the WHO guidelines, you're not going to get out there? And I was like, wow, I'm really pleased that people that are not involved in all this stuff know that that's happening. So, yeah, that was good. So it's not just the people in this sort of echo chamber that are worried about what's happening at YouTube. It's everybody. So, just the average person in the street. Well, not average. I'm not an average person, but you know what I mean. Tam, hello. Right. By the way, Rich is saving his voice for later, when he goes into a long, convoluted answer. So I'm doing a bit of the chatting tonight. Jay Rue, that's Jane, I think. Evening all. You see Richard there is just nodding his head, which doesn't come out on the audio podcast, but I will do the audio description. Droney, it's because a study is showing that red meat is causing diabetes in the study. A Harvard study, bought and paid for, and actually there's no such study that shows the cause and effect of red meat causing diabetes. There is no such study that does that. So there we go. It's probably an opinion piece or something. Pamela Gordon, good morning from Australia. Good day. That's good. Wow, we're getting lots of hellos. It's very nice, isn't it, Rich?
Yeah, this love is incredible.
Yeah, it is. The pursuit of bliss. Happy Sunday, y'all. I think that's how you say it, which is good. Right. Can you see? I'm keeping up with the comments before we get into any nitty-gritty.
You're flying with these. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Carnivore Muscle. Keep up the great content. Always hit like upon entry. When are we going to have a UK meetup? Well, now you could be triggering Rich here. Do you want to say anything, Rich? about this
Uh,
topic?
yeah, do you know, I will have a bit of a rant. And really quickly before I do, I, I was tempted not to come on this evening because I'm not very well. Now, within our community, we are seen not to be sick or unwell at all, which isn't true. We're still only human. So
I'm not.
no, you're superhuman. So I've come down with a flu. I've recently done a vid test, shall we say, and so I've shown positive for that. But I'll come on to a number of reasons in regards to why that, I think the human body, it's not just nutrition. There are other factors involved with this, but the fact is that it still hasn't prevented me from working. I'm still here. I'm still fighting, regardless of being half dead. So yeah, apologies if I'm not as vocal as always. But yes, this is a topic that Steve and I have spoken about, and I've had a big rant recently. There's a meetup within the UK, isn't there? And it's spelt that way, MEAT. And Stephen and I were saying that there was a post on Instagram recently, and I would regard the three of us potentially as being, some of the best known carnivore people in the UK, I should imagine. There are one or two others, but I didn't know about this meetup, and I wasn't invited. Steve wasn't invited. I don't know if Jonathan knows about it or whether he was invited. But yeah, it just seems really frustrating how, the three of us maybe weren't invited to something that, I don't know. It just frustrates because and I don't think it's done intentionally. My point there is that the content that we put out doesn't seem to be visible to many. It doesn't seem to be circulating. A lot of the content that I put out, I know seems to be hidden or blocked or out of view. And I know that people need to physically go to my page on the Book of Faces, as well as, the other platforms, to see the things that I post. I don't know if you guys find the same, but it's just, we're such a small knit community, and for people not to see or understand or listen to the things or hear the advice that we give out within the UK is really disconcerting. And this is why we need you guys to like, share and comment on these videos, because that will help the algorithm. That will encourage YouTube to push our video to be more visible, and more people will see it, and we can spread the word of better health and well-being more effectively. But I think I could go into a lot more detail in regards to my whinging and mourning, but maybe I'll save it for the other channel later. But yes, we should definitely organize a meetup, 100%. Yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing. I mean, I try to be as inclusive as possible and get as many people involved in everything. And I reach out to influencers in the UK and outside. And when we did the 24-hour Carnivore-a-thon, the world's first ever carnivore live stream, people have since claimed to be the first carnivore live stream for 24 hours, but we definitely did that. So and that was quite well publicized, and had some big names on there. So it does feel like we're not getting out there, whether it's shadow banning, whether it's just time differences. I don't know. But anyway, we keep plugging away, and we keep inviting people on, and trying to spread the word and try and connect people. But there you go. So yeah, that was quite a mild rant, I think. Yeah. So yeah, this is a good question. We're not talking about meat or low carb or keto, but we're talking about what's happened topically. So Matthew's asked, did the heavy rain in the last couple of days cause disruptions where you live or locally? The country where I live, it was like mini rivers. There was no damage to people's homes, and traveling was fine. Well, we had damage to our home. That's the first thing. We did have a new roof fitted in the summer, and water was pouring in. So it was a classic sort of like an old sitcom, saucepans under where the rain was dripping in. I mean, to give the builders their due and their credit, they came round as soon as we text to say this was happening, and fixed it that day with aquatic sealant, and then came today, actually, when we were out and did a proper job in the sunshine. I couldn't get to the gym because the road was shut. And Friday night, we were going to a games night, and there was 3 couples all going to meet up, and we had to cancel, and the roads were like rivers. It was pretty horrible. One of my clients goes racing around racetracks for fun. He pays for track days. Both of his things were cancelled. So yeah, it did cause a lot of disruption. There's a public house nearby called the Hurt Arms, and the water was 5 foot high. So basically, the entrance, the door into the public house, you could basically just see the top of it. So a lot of disruption. Some people having some terrible damage to their house. So yeah, horrible. Yeah, really bad. Jonathan, Richard would make an excellent candidate for carnivore muscle musing. Sorry, let's start again. Richard would make an excellent candidate for carnivore muscle ramblings, the ultimate live bodybuilding question and answer session. Yeah, well, I think so too. But what do you reckon, Rich? Do you think
sign
you'd
me
be
up
up for that?
Yes, definite. Yes.
There you go.
Sounds fantastic.
And if you don't know Jonathan, the carnivore muscle, you could also look at the composition consultant. So yes, great stuff.
Who was Tom, one of our incredible speakers on the 24-hour Carnivoreathon. The first ever, just to reiterate that again, the first ever.
Yes. Yeah. So we've got Tom J. I don't know if that's Tom Jones, but Tom, it's not unusual, is it? So come on, it's not unusual. Tom Jones. Anyway, good evening, Tom. Whoever you are, whether you are Tom Jones or not. And right, Paul. Hi guys, good to see you. Well, that's good. Good to have you along, Paul. I really seriously meant it when I said I'm saving Richard's voice. All right. So if you're bored with me already, I do apologize. Matthew, I meant the village where I live, not the country. Yeah. Okay. Right. Herbert said at Carnivore Muscle, just ended watching your last edition. Yeah, which is good. So it's all good. Lots of people saying hello. Sabrina, get well soon, Rich. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you very much.
I wonder if she could just tweak her nose and wish you to be better. I don't know if that's that's possible. All right, Carnivore Muscle. I'm in all the secret groups. My videos have dropped from 32k monthly to 22k in the last month. Yes. This is true. I've seen a huge drop in subscriptions. Not numbers coming down, but the amount of people subscribing in the future, on a daily basis has gone down. So definitely hit by these stupid rules. I was going to do a video, and it was going to have a clickbait title, and I still might do it, that I would not go keto if I was looking today. And that is clickbait, right? But I would want to get across that if I went on YouTube now, instead of 10 years ago, I would not have found keto. I would not have found low carb. I would not have found carnivore, and I would not have got fit and healthy. I would still possibly be pre-diabetic. I might even be dead. I'm going to be honest with you, because I had lower left quadrant pain. I was having colonoscopies. I was very unwell, and I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I followed the food guidelines, and my health was atrocious. I didn't touch fat. I didn't eat red meat. I did all the things that you're supposed to do, and I was getting pre-diabetic, lower left quadrant pain, so on my way to some serious problems. Coronary artery calcium scan, 639. I was getting cataracts. I had skin problems, everything. It was atrocious. Now, so now, if I went on YouTube, all I'd see is this anti-keto rubbish. I wouldn't find Dr. Berg. I wouldn't find Ken Berry. And I think it's atrocious. And I don't care that I'm on YouTube saying that, because that's what I feel. And if they want to take this down, they can take it down. But I don't think they should, because that's my personal experience. And that's what's happening to people. Tom, when I eat carnivore OMAD, here we go. A question. Here we go. So when I eat carnivore OMAD, 1 meal a day, I often get sniffles while eating. I don't use any seasoning except salt. Why would this be? Well, I'm going to be honest, Tom. I have not ever had that ever asked of me. So I would imagine it's something to do with the mechanical digestion, because once you start chewing, you produce saliva. This is all speculation. And amylase, you produce amylase, but everything starts happening. Now, 80% approximately of your taste is your olfactory system, all right, which is the things up your nose, basically. When you smell what you're eating, this sounds quite freaky, but it is actual particles of what you're eating. That's what the smell is. So you have got those particles going up your nose. So it could be that the fact that you're chewing, you're just moving all your ear, nose, and throat, and all the different changes in pressure. It could be the smells. Not saying the smells are bad. The whole point of the smell is actually to stop you eating stuff that's gone off, for instance, which then backs up the taste. So if you smell something, let's say the easiest one to talk about is like dairy, and I'm not sure about that. Just taste it. Oh, wow, that's sour. That's not right. Okay, so your smell is your first line of defense, but that doesn't mean it's only looking for bad things. It's also looking for good things. So it could just be that whole system starts to get a little bit of stimulation. I also think the motion of your chewing can spark that up a bit. So you could have blimey, it's going back to my training now. You could have something like I think it's called Gilbert's disease, where sometimes you get a slight sort of drip back of phlegm from your nose. But Rich, I know you're saving yourself for for something, but do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think you've covered that. Perfect.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Didn't even give me a chance to try your wonderful electrolytes. But yes, they're good. Did you send me the chocolate thing?
I have not yet. I haven't.
Right. Okay. Well, I've got you on video. Got you on video now.
Yes, I will. I promise. I will arrange it tomorrow.
That's okay, mate. I'm teasing you. Right. And if you haven't ever bought anything off Richard's website, the Keto Pro, if you're new and you put new keto 10, you'll get 10% off your first order. Cami, woohoo! Hi everyone. Hi Cami. Thank you for getting Sally K. Norton's team in touch with me. That's brilliant. So Sally K. Norton, who knows everything you need to know about oxalates and more, is coming on to the live stream in a few Sundays, and it's all thanks to Cami. So I can't thank you enough. I really cannot thank you enough. So thank you for today's support as well. The censoring. So this is Herbert. The censoring are just the proof you're all not wrong. Yes, absolutely. Yes. If you think about all the companies that are trying to stop their advertising on Rumble, for instance, the latest one being Burger King, virtually every company that wants to stop advertising on Rumble is a company I would not want to buy from anyway. So it says quite a lot of what's going on. But anyway, right. Tam. So this week I've decided to check my keto bloods. So it ranges from 0.8, and later on in the week, I'm now 1.5. I'm assuming keto, yes, just ketones, but still eating the same 6 eggs and chuck steak. Have you tried these things that you put on your arm, which I'm assuming, Tam, you mean the continual glucose monitor? I've not personally done that, but I have a Keto Mojo, and I've used the finger sticks, and I've done maybe 4 or 5 readings in a day, and I've had clients that have used the CGMs, and 0.8 is pretty good anyway, and 1.5 is a great level of ketone production. And if you're not taking exogenous ketones, that's like taking something like this and quaffing your ketones from outside. That's all exogenous means. You're adding it from outside, and you're just doing eating eggs and steak, and your ketones have gone up. That's good. That's pretty good. So, Rich, if you want to interject, you could put your hand up or just butt in. All right?
Yep, will do.
Yeah, I've learned today something. Again, this is really annoying and nothing to do with carnivore. I learned today at my breakfast with an ex-teacher that one of her sister's child was told in class, we don't put our hands up anymore. If you want to ask a question, you have to get our attention some other way. Absolutely ridiculous. If what's happening in education, or maybe it was that in that local education area, is ridiculous. But anyway, right. So Copper's Carnivore Kitchen. Very sad that I am really starting to see carnivore cliques, and it's getting pretty disgusting, to be honest. It went from everyone supporting each other to a competition on who can post more. I must admit, I don't really see that. I just think some people just stay in the same circles, because Rich and I, people could say, well, you're a clique. You've had Dr. Chafee, you've had Kilts on, Dr. Kilts, Colt you've had on, we'll probably have Jonathan on. They might think, well, look, there's 5, 6 blokes there all doing the same thing. So it might just look that way. I don't know if that is really a true thing. I mean, I just think it's just the circles we all work in. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't feel that. I don't feel it's a clique.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I disagree a little bit, Steve. I'm finding that people are becoming, we're all, whether you're keto or carnivore, it's all the same metabolic state. And people who are carnivore will look at keto as being different, but it's still the same metabolic state. And then there, we've covered this previously. There's different types of being keto, from starting low carb, dirty keto, standard keto, clean keto, strict keto, then carnivore, and there's different subsections of being carnivore. And I think what Copper's Kitchen is alluding to there is, within our community, if you're carnivore and suddenly you're seen drinking coffee, there's riots, or if you're seen eating berries or taking stevia with something, everybody seems to be in their own little lane, and there's a lot of animosity that I think between all of these different fractions, whereas we're all on the same journey. We're all on the same journey. It's up for that individual to decide where on that path that they want to reside. And you don't have to be strict carnivore, every day. You don't have to never, I don't drink raw milk. But I know a lot of carnivores that do. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to tell another carnivore who drinks raw milk that they shouldn't be drinking raw milk or drinking coffee. Dr. Chafee doesn't drink coffee because of the acrylamide. I drink coffee occasionally. There's some people will indulge in other forms of sweet treats. Doesn't mean that you're not carnivore. And I think that's what Copper's Kitchen is alluding to, is that everybody seems to be getting the knives out against someone who doesn't follow their agenda, 100%. But I think, and it did used to be more supportive. I've got, as you know, a Facebook group, and it's a low carb keto carnivore group. So I support anyone, and obviously we've just started the new one on Mighty Networks, which will pop a link below. I will support anyone who wants to make a change. Whether you are low carb, whether you want to be strict keto, if you just want to be dirty keto for the rest of your life, you're going to be fitter and healthier than you were if you were living a standard, what we call a standard sick diet. But if that's where you want to be, that's fine. If you want to be, I didn't wake up yesterday and decide to be a carnivore. I started with low carb 10, 11 years ago, and it was through these incremental changes that I've gravitated into becoming carnivore. I was ketogenic for 8 years. I'm still ketogenic because it's still the same metabolic state. I went into becoming more carnivore 4 years ago. And now, as I've learned more through my journey, I've gone deeper and deeper into that, and I've begun to remove other things that I wouldn't consume. But I didn't wake up yesterday being carnivore. So we do need to support everybody, regardless of where they are on their journey. But I noticed that within the Facebook group that I have, somebody will post a picture of something that is low carb, but maybe contains some form of gluten. And they will be, this person would be new to my group. And then 10 people would jump on their back and ridicule them. That's not keto, blah, 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 blah. And then that person's taken a lot of courage to do that post. And then they disappear from my group and they never post again. You know, we need to be more supportive. Not everybody wants to be as strict as we are, you know. If they want to, fantastic. If they don't, then that's great. But we're all about education across the board. And I'm, you know, I don't want our channel to be that way. I think I want to be open to everybody. If you want to eat nothing but beef, then brilliant. If you want to eat, you know, your low carb breads and wraps and pastas and be dirty keto, then that's fine by me too. All we'll do is put that education out. We will teach you that there's always a little bit further that you can go. There's always a little bit further you can move down that rabbit hole. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You know, you'll never get that from me. You know, within our group, Stephen, I'm sure, you know, I'm sure you can attest to the same. But I think that's what Copper's Kitchen's alluding to. I may be wrong, but it does. There seems to be a lot of animosity even within, you know, it's us against the rest of the world, and then within our own groups, there seems to be these sub factions where people are getting on their high horse, and you know, this isn't keto, that's not keto, this isn't carnivore. It's all one and the same.
Yeah, and that yes, maybe that's what it is. It comes across like there's groups that want to do high fat and those that want to do, yes, I definitely get that, and I think we're obviously open to every sort of person that wants to get well, and as you say, I mean, I never push anything onto anyone. I'm not a zero tolerance sort of person. I think Adam, who went by the name of the Fat Addict, you know, I've interviewed him. We did the success story, and he talked about it being dirty keto, and you know, talked about that. And then the intentional carnivore, who lost 262 pounds. I mean, he I'm sure I remember him saying he was doing dirty carnivore. So I think if it works for you, and you know, why be picky? I mean,
So, it's a stepping stone, isn't it? So Adam was a client of mine. Adam did the Fat Club with me, which is now live through our Mighty Networks. That's a fantastic course with incremental changes, and that's how you know, Adam progressed down that. And I think he's lost 11 stone to date. And predominantly, when Adam came to see me, if I said to Adam, because we did a Zoom consultation. If I said to him, go away and eat nothing but this, and this, I know for a fact that he would have looked at me as if I was absolutely mental, and he wouldn't have implemented any change at all. But when you give people one or two little tidbits and you educate them, what you do is when you educate, you arm somebody with the knowledge to make an educated decision. So then when it comes to eating a specific food, if you want to call it a food, we can make a decision on whether to eat that food in regards to what that food contains. And that's exactly what Adam did. And many of my clients begin as dirty keto. And that's fine. If we can educate them to become carnivore, which I've done with thousands of customers and clients, and that's fantastic. Some don't. Some just want to remain low carb because it suits their lifestyle. But we will continue to educate and allow them to make those changes.
And Copper's Carnivore Kitchen, thank you very much for the donation, $20. You can do this super chat if you want to support us, and that really would go a long way to helping us. But just clarifying, by cliques, I mean the personalities of some of the brand new creators who are just about the monetization and attention and do not have a true message to share. You both have an amazing message to share, and that's very kind of you and really nice to say. So I do appreciate that. Yeah, also, appreciate that. The other comment that you put, because going back to the 24-hour live stream, we were definitely the first because it's on. They know we're first, but and well,
it's time stamped. It's there in history.
The comment, because apparently they got spanked for telling that person that you guys were the first, and they got banned. So Copper's Carnivore Kitchen got banned for pointing out that we were first. And, you know, I didn't bother going on and saying, by the way, we did the 24-hour live stream, and it was quite highly advertised. It was on Dr. Chafee's channel as well. And I think we've had, I don't know, about 60,000 views across the board. So it wasn't exactly underknown, and many influencers did it. And I think a few of the influencers that went onto that other one And I'm fine. I'm supportive. If someone wants to do that, that's great. The more we're out there talking about carnivore, the better. That's, you know, I'm not actually griping about it, but I do feel that if you're going to say you're doing the first one ever, you do need to just check your facts that you're doing the first one ever. That's all that got me. I thought that was a bit strange. And yeah, sorry, Rich, I cut you off there, but I really wanted to get that on there.
Coming back to what you just said, I had the impression that they saw we were doing it and decided to jump on it, and because we are not as well known, you know, they thought they'd take credit. And I'll say it. I know you don't want, but you know, if they are listening, we were first. So, you know,
I mean, that's just facts, you know. Matthew, I highly appreciate everything you both do. You deserve many, many more views, in my opinion, along with Judy Cho and Sean Baker. You are the best people in the carnivore low carb community. For those listening to the audio podcast, I do apologize if you're listening, looking for questions. I am just reading the comments. We're not making this a love fest or to sort of anyway. If a question comes up, we'll answer it. Tam, and track your levels and what's spiking your insulin. So we're going back to the continual glucose monitor. When I started as an obesity and diabetes specialist practitioner, I spent most of my time undoing the work of other people, because the clients would come to me and say, well, I'm doing everything they've told me, small meals 6 times a day. I'm starting with oatmeal, you know, and basically eating carbs. That's what basically they were doing. And I would say about if you get a continual glucose monitor, or you get a Keto Mojo, or you get any sort of glucose device, you can eat the foods they're recommended, and you can look at the difference in your blood glucose and see if really they're recommending foods that are great for you. And then you could eat something I'm recommending, let's say scrambled eggs with bacon, and see what difference that makes to your blood glucose. So you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to these other so-called experts, because you're listening to those so-called experts and it isn't working, and they're blaming you and thinking you're not complying, right? So do this. Eat a banana and see what happens. Eat some porridge, or oatmeal as you call it, and see what happens to your blood glucose. Eat some eggs and see what happens. Now, the Fat Club, you know, I've just done a video about the different types of breakfast, so I can remember this off the top of my head. And I got the graphic from the wonderful David Unwin, Dr. David Unwin, fantastic guy, and one of the best people in the UK to deal with diabetes. And I use those graphics, and he's done graphics for oatmeal, for bananas, for maple syrup, for skim milk, all different combinations. And it's sugar cubes. What these breakfasts will do in relation to your blood glucose. So the breakfast that this client was being recommended was the equivalent of 27 teaspoons of sugar. Scrambled egg with bacon, butter, and a Swiss water decaf coffee was less than a teaspoon of sugar for the effect on the body. So, you know, it's just incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. Yes, so that's one of the things that's good about the glucose monitors. And I can assure you, because I learned this when I was studying, that when they were first postulated to be released to the public, many doctors and experts did not want the public to have glucose monitors in their hands. And they absolutely tried to stop that happening. And you've just got to worry about why that would be. And I can tell you why it would be, because everything they're saying is not going to be helpful. I get a feeling we can get taken off the air at some point. But anyway, right. A carnivore muscle. I like Stephen and Richard. Nice combination between being real, charismatic, and intelligent. Very helpful content. Thank you. Yeah.
Way too kind.
Yeah. So basically, Rich, we're fooling them.
Yeah.
So Herbert, colleague of mine, sees the benefits on me, and still he reads one article in the news that red meat causes diabetes, and now he's unsure. And that's the biggest bugbear. The evidence of your own eyes is trumped by the mainstream media. You know, and this is heartbreaking. And I get this at least once a week from clients that say, and I bore people with this, but I always use this example. It's just generic. This is what they sort of say. I've lost 60 pounds. My blood pressure is lowered. I'm off my medications. I don't need to inject myself with insulin anymore. I have more energy. I sleep better. And I went back to my doctor and said I'm off all my meds and I'm feeling great. And they asked me, "Wow," and they say, "Wow, that's great. What are you doing?" And I tell them that I'm doing low carb, and they say, "Oh, that'll kill you." And that's what it's like, the evidence of your own experience. And I even have clients that then message me and say, "I'm really worried now. My doctor has just said this is going to kill me." I get this with blood tests as well. But anyway, right. Just Emma, another good supporter. Yes, I always try to like and comment and share, which helps. This live stream has been such valuable and great information. Happy open vibe. Thank you very much. J. Roo, I've been plugging you on some of the Facebook Carnivore groups. Thank you very much. It is appreciated. I promise you. Agree 100%. They should have way more views. Yep, that's nice. And Pursuit of Bliss is really surprised that they got banned for saying, "Hey guys, there was somebody that did the 24-hour thing before you." And look, you see, Jonathan's getting some people subbing now, so that's good. So, but that's what we're about, isn't it? I mean, when we did the 24-hour live stream, my rationale was, number one, I want to get Carnivore out there, and Rich was new to me, but I realised that he had the same feelings, so it wasn't a money thing. We didn't monetize it in any way. We just said, right. And I came up, I'm sorry about this, Rich, but I mean, I came up with the idea of doing it 24 hours because I felt that because it's slightly different, no one's ever done it, it might just get a little bit of attention and we get some people listening, and it wouldn't be us that would get the viewers on. It would be Dr. Chafee, it would be Dr. Kilt, Dr. Sabrina Salt, and, Judy Cho, everybody that came on. Colt, Jonathan. So we were going for people that just do the job. Phil Escott, everybody. Ben Hunt, all these people. We were just getting everybody we could. Dr. Unwin, Jen Unwin, the list was endless. But the idea was Sean Baker came on, so everybody was supportive, you see, everybody. Behind the scenes, there's no money changing hands. I mean, Dr. Chafee did 3 hours. Now, the idea was, this might get some traction. It will get some people, and hopefully a few people will now. Dr. Avadia, so many different people. So there's so many different experts in different fields. Kevin Stock, Dr. Kevin Stock. So the loads and loads of people came on. And the idea was that if you started to watch, you think, wow, all these doctors, basically, all these experts, all these coaches, nutritionists, everybody, they all think it's great. And then if you start it, let's say you are out there listening, I don't know who you are, let's just pick somebody at random, Mr. Random or Miss Random, whatever you want to call yourself. If you started it and you had some family issues where they're like, you shouldn't do this, you're going to die. You could say, well, here's one show that was in 24 hours and had 25 doctors on, all in a row, all talking about how good this is. So that, it's supposed to be a very powerful message. So that was that. Right. Trying to catch up now. I'm taking over from Rich today, like I say, to save his voice. But we're really keeping up with the comments. Copper's Carnival Kitchen. Yep, I was shocked. I just did not know how all of this got to be a competition, just silly. Yeah. So like I say, we're not in competition. We want everybody to do really well. That's that simple as that. Right. Alexandri. Hi guys, I'm on a carnivore diet for a month now. I was previously doing an animal-based diet with fruit and honey, but feels better with the carnivore diet. I'm working out in the gym since 2 years, which is great, and I'm assuming that you just went carnivore from the animal base because the fruit and honey wasn't making you feel as good as you'd like. So, yeah, that's great. Thanks for that feedback and welcome to the channel. I don't think I've seen that name before. Droney, how to feed up to doing a marathon on keto. A lot is saying it can't be done without carbs. up the fat or how to? Right. Well, last week, if you watched us last week, you would have seen that we had Sarah Davis on, who has run marathons, not only just without carbs, but in a fasted state. So your body will give you the carbohydrates you need. And Rich has unmuted himself, so I think we're going to get Richard giving us a little bit of feedback.
So yeah, I did pop a link in the chat in regards to a post that I recently, or a video that I recently recorded with Professor Tim Noakes. I think it's currently on 38,000 views. Incredible video. But in answer to your question, I work with athletes, from people who run 5Ks to Ironman athletes. I have had Ironman athletes complete an Ironman in 10 hours, completely fasted with no food whatsoever. You don't need any carbohydrates. The body will make the carbohydrates that you need. The body requires between 5 to 10 milligrams of glucose per hour, or grams of glucose per hour, which it will comfortably make through gluconeogenesis. Personally, I always compete when I compete in duathlons and running and cycling events completely fasted. I recently did the Cardiff half marathon with off the back of a 24-hour fast, which I completed in just over 1.5 hours. And I'm new to running. It was only this year I've begun running. This year, I was also training with a few of the guys in preparation for Ironman Wales. So I went down and cycled the course of them, and it's regarded as one of the toughest Ironman courses, cycling courses in the world. 112 miles over something like 9,500 foot of elevation. And I'm new to cycling. Only this year I've been cycling. I completed that after fasting for 24 hours, and we were 6 or 7 hours in the saddle. All I consumed was water and electrolytes. The week later, I went back out and did it again. And that week I consumed exogenous ketones just to buffer the pain in the legs. BHB exogenous ketones, or being fully keto adapted, is a fantastic way to do that, because it blocks inflammation. But you don't need anything, but you need to do what suits you. So if you are the type of person who feels better with something in their belly before they do an event, then put some easy digestible fats in the night before. Maybe cheese could work well if cheese works well for you. Mincemeat, maybe some chicken breast, with the skin on. I would advise maybe away from things like omega-3 fatty fish, because they don't store in the body. And if you are wanting to store fat in the muscle, in the intracellular myolipids, then we want to use a saturated fat. This is why you wouldn't technically fat load on MCT oil either. Those are fantastic things to consume while working out or doing an event, but you wouldn't fat load on that. So think of double cream or Greek yogurt potentially could work. But personally, I prefer to compete on an empty stomach at minimum of 16 hours fasted. Just remember, if you are fully keto adapted, this is your energy. You have 15 times more energy stored in body fat compared to your counterpart in carbs. And during that podcast, we think of, just going off subject, think of the training that you do for a marathon. A lot of your training is probably done in zone 2 training. Well, why do you do zone 2 training? And it's because you want to be in fat burning zone. So in there tells you everything that you need to know. All of these other athletes need to train their body to burn fat. If you are keto adapted or carnivore, you're already in fat burning mode. We don't need to do as much zone 2 training. I'm not telling you it isn't beneficial, because it is, but we are already there. Other athletes need to train their body in zone 2. Our bodies are already fat burner. Marathon runners who run world record marathon times, if you were to test their body, they are producing ketones despite consuming silly levels of carbohydrate. Even a lot of the elite athletes that you see who push carbohydrate, they push their bodies to such a level that their bodies are adapted enough that they produce ketones, and most of their efforts could be sustained purely on ketones. It's just we are in this society that tells us that we need muscle glycogen. And again, That podcast with Professor Noakes points heavily away from this, and it's not to do with muscle glycogen, but to do with blood glucose. But we need an ever so slight amount of blood glucose, and maximum would be 10 grams per hour. So it's a far stretch from this 80 to 120 grams per hour that we are told. And that little, your body is capable of producing naturally. So you do not need any exogenous carbohydrate whatsoever. I could not cycle 112 miles for 7 hours on zero carb and there it comes out. I was waiting for the book. If I was not, fully keto adapted. We see people doing this every day. It's just unfortunately that the sugar companies can't make any money by selling you an energy gel that contains 10 grams of glucose, because you could get this from one bite of a banana or any other source. So it's all a marketing ploy. It's a marketing ploy to sell you glucose in a sachet in order to make money. It's one of the things that we mentioned that Professor Noakes has studied. Every study that has ever been done on carbohydrates and athletic performance, and there's over 400 studies. So he is the world leading expert in regard, and this is coming from a person that is not wedded to the keto or carnivore lifestyle. If you remember, Professor Noakes wrote the book on carb loading. He wrote The Law of Running. He was one of the original inventors of the GU energy gel. So he was in that society or that belief system in regards to carbohydrate being required. And he could have stayed there and made an absolute fortune off those beliefs. But when he realized the truth, he came off his pedestal, admitted he was wrong. And I think it takes a big man to admit that. Many of us will not admit when we were wrong. And for him to do that must mean that the evidence that he has seen is so profound that he's quite literally gone against everything that he has ever written up to that point. The reason every athlete puts carbohydrate in before an event is because Professor Noakes told them to do so. And now he is telling you that he had it wrong. We do not need carbohydrate. We don't even need to eat before an event if we are properly adapted. But if you are the type of person who feels better with something in your belly, put something in. But I would preference, as I say, an easy digestible sort of meat and fat, something that's not going to sit in the stomach too long, because there's nothing worse than trying to run a marathon with a bit of a bloat in your belly. We want to be as lean as possible. And this is another reason the carbohydrates is absolutely counterintuitive. For every 1 gram of carbohydrate that you consume, the body's going to hold on to 2, 3, or 4 grams of water. So in form of glycogen, if you were to carb up before a marathon, you could be carrying an additional 7 pounds in body weight. Now, if I was to hand you, a 7 pound weight in the form of a cast iron dumbbell and tell you to strap that to your belly and do a marathon, you would tell me to go and jog on. And that's exactly what we are doing when we put these carbohydrates in. We are just loading our body with this extra weight. Why would you want to put that weight in? Absolutely counterintuitive. So yeah, that's my short answer.
Yeah, and a great answer. And yes, you're right with the book. The reason I bring this book up, which is the biochemistry book that I used, I don't know if my camera is on mirror, but anyway, it's a biochemistry book, not a book that's sponsored by a pharmaceutical company or by anyone selling supplements or someone with a vested interest. It was a biochemistry book, and the 120 grams over 24 hours is what your body needs of carbohydrate, of glucose, however you want to say it. And that's coming from the liver. It doesn't have to come from dietary sources. So when someone is fasting, they don't drop dead. You do a 3-day fast. Where's that glucose coming from? It's coming from the liver. It's not coming from what you're eating. But Rich, that answer, I'm going to cut out and make a separate little bit just on Droney's question, because that was an amazing answer. So that was really good. And that's the sort of thing that's in the Fat Club as well, you see, these questions. Here's a really interesting one from Cami. I think I found the reason why I haven't been able to fat adapt. I've read studies that say that some hypothyroid people, that's those that have low levels of the thyroid hormone, can have 30 to 50% less ability to produce glucose from gluconeogenesis. And that makes total sense, because if you're hypothyroid, you've got that decreased metabolic rate. That's the first thing. So if you've got a lower metabolic rate, that means that the body utilizing energy is going to be happening at a slower pace. And obviously, gluconeogenesis requires energy. So if you've got a lower metabolic rate, you've got a lower energy turnover, then the energy required to do gluconeogenesis could be, a factor into why you're producing less glucose, because there's less energy to actually do the process. I just made a quick note of a couple of other things, because you said, I wonder how you fixed it. The other thing is it could be impaired hormone signaling. So the thyroid hormone, that stimulates various enzymes involved in gluconeogenesis. So with the lower levels of the thyroid hormones, remember, hormones are signaling to make things happen. That's not going to happen. So that basically will not signal that the process of gluconeogenesis needs to happen, because you've got that lower enzyme activity. So I don't know if Rich wants to sort of jump in there. And the other thing is the altered substrate availability, because when you've got gluconeogenesis going on, it tends to need substrates, normally, non-carbohydrate substrates such as lactate and, amino acids, basically fatty acids. So if you've got decreased levels of amino acids or glycerol, then that's going to cause a problem for the production of gluconeogenesis. So I don't think it's going to be that one, but it's going to be the first two, I think. Did you want to jump in, Rich, or are you happy with that?
Yeah, happy. I think there's a whole piece that we could do on this. I think there's a whole, maybe one evening we'll set aside for thyroid, hormones in general, because it's a question that I've been asked quite a lot lately, and I don't think it's I don't think 10 minutes is probably enough to go into. But
well, I've done 2 videos on it, which are in the Fat Club. And that's going to be a nice segue to what Thomas said here, because I've also got some on my YouTube channel saying, I really enjoyed Stephen's video about the liver. Well, actually, I've done 3 parts because the liver is so complex. Part 1, 2, part 3. That's actually part 3 and 4. So I did 4 parts, but I cut it into 3 bits. And he's saying that I dropped some interesting fact bombs. Love just sticking to the facts and sprinkling in the carnivore perspective. Yeah, which is what I just did with Cami there, which is, the 3 main reasons for the lower gluconeogenesis. But one I wouldn't have thought would be a problem with the lower availability of substrate. I don't think that would be a problem, but it would be the first 2 possibly. Alexandri, I was tracking macros on the animal-based diet, but not any more since on carnivore. At Richard, to go low body fat, were you counting macros to go down? And he's putting in brackets there calories.
Macros, I was tracking. Calories, I wasn't. You can. It's a complex subject in regards to calorie, because if you were switching from one diet to another, calorie is irrelevant. And as we know, it's not the calories. Calories technically do not exist. As I'm sure Jonathan, the composition consultant, can agree that we've spoken with Professor Bart Kay and his explanation, which goes into a lot of detail. Basically, there's no mass to a proton or photon even, but it's not the calories. Now, even when you consume something, it does contain some form of energy. Now, if you were coming from a high carbohydrate diet to a carnivore, then you can't track the calories. The calories do not transition, because it goes well beyond calories. The caloric model doesn't account for the effect of insulin, doesn't account for the thermic effect of food, metabolic rate, ketogenesis, the effect of lectins, nor inflammation. So if we were coming from a high carbohydrate background, for example, and we were consuming a bowl of muesli in the morning that contained, say, 500 calories, or some steak and eggs that contained 500 calories, that bowl of muesli is going to signal the body to store at least 5 times more fat than that steak and eggs, despite the caloric value being the same, because of the effect on insulin and the combined effect of the lectins. Lectins will bind to insulin receptors, and they'll signal the body to store 5 times more fat than the effect of carbohydrate alone. And then we've got the other factors in regards to the phytic acid and the lectins, which are blocking the absorption of the nutrients in the protein. So phytic acid will block the absorption of zinc, iron, and magnesium by as much as 100%. Zinc, for example, is essential for the production of testosterone. We need testosterone to build muscle. So there's all of these other downstream deleterious effects of consuming certain foods from certain sources. Now, that said, if you were living a strict carnivore lifestyle and you were to track calories, then you would have a better gauge because the meals you're eating are the same. So in essence, you're lowering the volume. So let's not talk about calories, you're lowering the volume, but macros is what I tracked. I would always ensure that I was hitting my protein. So protein at 0.5, we need to maintain the muscle that we have. To stimulate growth, it needs to be 0.2 grams per pound of body weight. Which is why I consume over a gram. A gram per pound is a good metric to have as a generalization, although depending on your goal, it can change from there. But what I would do is on specific weeks, I would drop my protein down to 0.5 grams per pound of body weight. So I would be at maintenance to ensure that I didn't lose any muscle mass. And then I would do I would alternate the days that I would be consuming fat. So some days I would drop my fat and just eat lean protein. So when we are reducing the amount of dietary fat we're consuming, the body ramps up the amount of body fat that it burns, that it oxidizes. But fat is essential for the production of hormones. So I would do a fat refeed. So rather than a carb refeed, I would do a fat refeed a couple of times a week. You can do this every other day. I found that I would go strict. So I would go maintenance protein, super low fat, as close to zero as possible. And to do this, I would eat things like tuna, chicken breasts without the skin. My favorite was bassa fish because it's incredibly high in protein, but zero fat. And I would reduce the fat to stimulate my body to ramp up its ability to oxidize stored body fat. And then every third or fourth day, I would have a high fat refeed, which would gain weight. It would store weight, as in fat and intracellular myolipids, and it would be enough fat to stimulate the production of hormones. Now, year on year, when I competed, I became leaner and leaner year on year. So nothing moves in a straight line. The leanest I got in regards to body fat percentage was 2%. That's not healthy, but it's fit for purpose. I had a goal and I managed to make and achieve that goal. But the first year I competed, I probably achieved maybe 8% body fat. The next year, 5 to 6. And year on year, as my body adapted, the ability to cut and strip became greater and greater. So it didn't happen overnight. So don't expect just to keep on losing weight. What will happen is if you start to reduce the amount of dietary fat, your body will preference stored body fat, and you will lose to a point. And when you begin to stop losing that fat, or it begins to affect your concentration or your health, then's the time to stop, start putting fat back in, get your health back, make sure your cognition is correct, and then persevere maybe a couple of weeks down the line. But nothing moves in a straight line. So don't expect to do this and achieve, incredibly low single figure body fat, because health is more important. We all want, ripped abs. But the fact of the matter is that health is incredibly important. And what you tend to find is people who are incredibly healthy, yes, they may have abs, but very few of them are ripped and shredded. If we look at the likes of Dr. Chafee, he has abs, but he's not ripped and shredded down to 2%. He's got abs, but he's beefy. He looks fit and healthy. Dr. Sean Baker, Jonathan, the composition consultant, ripped, but not competition condition day in, day out. Myself, I have abs, but I'm not in competition condition every single day. And I reference the
Rich, I'm going to have to stop you because in a minute we're over on Rumble, and I don't care about saying the name Rumble now.
And it took you all this time to get me started.
The link to it is in the comments. And if you want to join us, I do apologize to everybody who has put questions and comments that we haven't got to, and I do apologize for that. The super chat does move you up. I'm not trying to push the super chat. It does move up questions. So I just get to see them as they come through. So I've realized that we've managed to get to the last question was about 7:40 time for us here. But we're over on Rumble for the next hour. Thanks, Rich, for that great answer. And thanks for everybody for turning up, and thanks for putting the questions. And you can always put questions, when we post the live streams happening, you can put questions in the comments and we will deal with those first. So brilliant. Thank you so much. And good night, YouTube. See you in the next hour.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.